Hello, this is Mr. Swan. Just want to share a story with you, one that's been told to me by my grandfather. Some of you guys may have heard it already. It's a story about Kooks-in-aka, a young baby that was born off the west coast, where I'm from. The place is called Chicknuit back then, before it became Manhousaht, the name that we use today. So the story, like I said, is thousands of years ago when the story was passed on from generation to generation. And my grandfather said there was things that happened that never happened again, like miracles and stuff. So the story about Kooks-in-aka, the word meaning dirty tummy. This boy cried and he cried and he cried. Tears fell down his face. And the snot fell down and landed on his stomach. That's where that name came from. So going back, telling the story about Kooks-in-aka, where things that happened when he was actually born, or before he was born. Just he was born into a chief's family. The head chief's son, second son. He had another boy named Wiccaninish. So what of this story goes, when the child was born, he wouldn't stop crying over and over again, crying, crying, crying. The chief, the father, you'd be walking him back and forth on the beach. You'd be doing it day and night, trying to get him to stop crying, singing him songs, and trying to get him to stop. And you'd pat him on the back and rock him. He still wouldn't go to sleep. One day, the chief, he had a meeting. He got years went by. He was still crying. One day, the chief, he had a meeting with the elders, and McInnish heard. He was listening. He was listening from the outside of the big house where the chief was having the meeting, listening to him talking about his brother. The father talked to the elders and he said, I called here for a meeting to talk about Kooks-in-aka. He's making me sick, he said. He's making me ill. I can't sleep, I can't eat. All I'm doing is walking him around, getting them to stop crying, and I'm not doing what I need to do. So he said to the elders, he said, I want to move to our other reserve at Upnit by Hot Springs Cove. I want to move there and I want to leave him behind. The elders didn't hesitate. They lifted up their hand and said, yeah, we'll leave him behind. So the next day they start taking all the planks down from the beams and the posts of the big house. And they start making rafts with two canoes, loading up the stuff on two canoes and moving it all over to the other reserve. And the chief was the last one to leave. But Wiccaninishi, when he heard that they were going to leave him behind, he went out and hid a bow and arrow and a hide for a blanket and a shell to cut fish. Never knew why he wanted to do that, but he left the shell behind and he hid it. The next day they were loading up the canoe, and the chief had the last canoe. He was the last one to leave. He wanted to make sure that nobody took Kooks-in-aka off the beach. He was standing there crying. The chief got all of his family in the canoe, including Wiccaninish. And they pulled off the beach. Shortly after, Wiccaninish jumped up and then he dove off the canoe. He turned back at his dad and he said, I'm going to stay with my brother because I love him. So the chief didn't even turn back and just left both of them. And the two of them were standing on the beach side by side watching their father leave. So Wiccaninish started making a shelter close to the posts and beams that were left behind. And one day he said to the brother, he said, I gotta go hunting, I gotta go look for some food. You stay under that blanket and don't move. They were really strict back then. If you were told not to move, you never moved. You kept still. So you listened, and he stayed still. The brother went out hunting. He didn't catch anything, I don't think. One day, Kooks-in-aka, he said to his brother, he said, brother, I really need to, is digger number 2. So he said, well, you're big enough, you're going to go do it on your own, he said, no, brother, I said, I need to, I'm in a creek, he said. So Kooks-in-aka brought him to the creek and said, okay, and he said, he stood up a flat rock, and he stood up right in the creek. He said, there you go, you can do your business there now, he said. So Kooks-in-aka stooped over and done his business and made a grunting noise, and then all of a sudden he heard a plop and a splash shortly after. And he looked down, he saw a little fish swimming up the creek. He needed another poop, so he pooped, grunted and groaned, and then he looked down after the splash, and there was another one swimming right beside him. And there was 2. My grandfather said that it was a male and a female that went up the river after Kooks-in-aka done his business. And then he said it was like magic. He said when they went up there, all of a sudden there was hundreds of them going up the river. Kooks-in-aka told his brother what happened. Right away he started making a trap to catch the fish. Oh, he started smoking and took the bow and arrow and the shell that he had from the bow and arrow that he hid. He started cutting up the fish. Started hanging up in his shack and made it like a smokehouse. Started smoking all the fish are hanging all over the top of the little shack they made. So he ended up smoking fish. Kooks-in-aka's stomach went down and it went away, and he wasn't crying anymore. And then Kooks-in-aka said to his brother, he said, you watch this fish now. He said, I'm going to go out hunting. You stay under that blanket and that hide there and you don't move. He said to him, Wiccan-Inish said to his brother. And the fish were all smoking. Everything was okay, so he went out. Not too long after, he heard a grunting noise. Arr, arr, arr. And heard the feet pounding on the ground. He stayed underneath the hide, and this big hairy monster came inside. Stood up on his hind legs, reached up and grabbed some fish, and then it left. Wiccan-Inish came in not too long after. Oh, he yelled at his brother. I thought I told you to leave things alone, not touch anything. And Kooks-in-aka looked at Wiccan-Inish. He said, it wasn't me. This big hairy monster came in after you left. Came up and stood on his hind legs and reached up and took the fish. And then he left. And then just before you came, he said, Kooks-in-aka didn't think that Wiccan-Inish believed him. He said, next time you go hunting, don't go hunting. He said, pretend to go hunting. And then come around and hide with me, because it doesn't come when you're here. It only comes when you're gone. So Kooks-in-aka yelled out to his, Wiccan-Inish yelled out to his brother. He said, okay, I'm going to go out hunting. He said it louder. Okay, I'm going to go out hunting. You stay still and don't move, just in case that big hairy monster was listening. Don't move, I'm going to go out hunting, and don't move at all now. Stay still, don't touch anything. Kooks-in-aka said, okay, brother, I'll stay still. So he hid under the hide. Wiccan-Inish left. He went around the bushes and he came back underneath and he hid underneath the hide with his brother. Not too long after, you heard the and you hear the footstep pounding on the ground. This big black hairy monster came into the shack where they had the fish hanging up. stood up on its hind legs. Wicked got out of the hide and had his bow and arrow and bang, shot it with a bow and arrow. This the big hairy monster. This what we call a chimps in our language. And what happened after that? What happened after that? He ended up skinning it, and he had meat. We had meat instead of just fish. Back home, back at Upnett, with an uncle, he said, I came to visit my nephew, he said to the queen, to the Huckle. He said, I came to visit my nephews, my widow. Where are they? He said to his sister. He was from a place called Utsusit. That's where the queen's brother was from. And he said, I came to visit my widow. He said, where are they? And the Huckle, the queen, she said, brother, we had to leave him behind. We're supposed to just leave Kooks-in-aka behind because he was crying and making the chief sick, my husband. So we left him. And when we were leaving, Wicked jumped off the canoe and stayed with him. They're probably gone now, she said. Probably not alive anymore. And then brother said, I'm going to go over and check. I'm going to go over and check to see if they're okay. And Queen grabbed her brother's arm and said, no, you stay here. You wait till dark time. Don't let the chief see you leave. So he stayed and waited till dark, and he snuck out. He paddled all the way to a place we call Hisnit today. The reason why we call it Hisnit is because of the fish that Kooks-in-aka gave birth to, in a way. Small species of sockeye. Hissit, the place called Hisnit today. So you went over and paddled over there, and it was starting to get bright by the time you got there. And he said, Wicked Kooks-in-aka, it's me, your uncle. Are you there? You could smell fish, coming up to the beach. Smoked fish. Oh, you smelled it a long ways away. You know, when you get hungry, you could smell food from your neighbor's house when you're really hungry. Well, he smelled that food because everybody was starving. Even at Upnett, they were starving. Nobody was catching fish. Nobody was hunting. They used to go out and see a fish jump, and they used to take their pot out and make fish soup, imaginary fish soup. They would think that it was fish. That's how they survived. So they called him up. Come on up, uncle. Come have something to eat. That's the way that people were before, right? When somebody came to visit, you fed them. Didn't matter if they ate before. You invited them anyway. You tell them to sit down and eat. That's where we get our teaching from. So they sat down. He sat down and he ate with them. He's really happy to see them. Wicked told them the story about Kooks-in-aka. Look at him, uncle. He's stout now. He's big. He's broad-shouldered. He's tall. Doesn't have a tummy no more. Stout is a word that my grandfather used. Just meant he was built. And then he ended up sitting down eating till listening to Wicked story about the bear, the chimps, and the black beast. So I told him about that, and told him about especially about the fish that started coming up the creek, and traps they made from. Oh, he fed them good. Had bear meat. Then he had fish. And he said, I gotta go back. He said, I gotta go see my sister and talk to your mother. So he went back. He sat there and sat in front of his wife. His sister, and he said, this is what happened. And he told them what happened with the Kooks-in-aka and Wicked. He said, I found them. They were still alive. And they're doing really good. He said they have a lot of food. The chief walked in. Boy, starving, eh? You could smell the fish off, smoked fish off his body, off his brother-in-law. He goes, "Where were you, brother?" He said, and brother-in-law couldn't lie to the chief. He said, "I went to go visit my nephews, the one that you left behind." He said, "Kooks-in-aka is not dead; he's still alive, and they're thriving. They have lots of fish, and they have bear meat, and have tons of food." Right away, the chief ordered everybody to pack up and go back. And they went back, and that's the story. You can take a lot of things from this story. And one of the things I want to ask you is, what did you get from the story? And it's something that we don't take lightly with the stories that are told. There's stories and stories. There's things that have to be told about people in general. About who we are, who you are, and what we should do and how we should do it. People make mistakes in their past, and we're here to learn from them. So that's my story about Kooks-in-aka. I know what it tells me, but I just want to ask you, what is this story telling you? Who are you in this story? So I think that's one of the things I'd ask. So take your time, watch it over again if you have to. But we all have a little bit of Kooks-in-aka inside us. Some of us has a little bit of wickedness. Some of us have a little bit of chief in them. But this is not a made-up story. This is a true story that my grandfather claims. Do I believe it? Yeah, I do. Some things did happen a long time ago. But you guys have fun. Enjoy it. Bye-bye.